That is David Arends and his friends, showcasing the best of what soccer provides the world: community, friendship, and a sense of belonging. David is the president of BVB Buffalo 716, the official Western New York supporters group for the German soccer club Borussia Dortmund. This club, that plays in the Bundesliga, Germany's top-tier soccer league, is also considered by many to be one of the premier clubs in the world, which probably accounts for how they could have supporters 3,800 miles away in Buffalo. David was born in Syracuse, New York, and sports fandom was ingrained in him as a young child. He was an avid New York Yankees baseball, Giants football, Rangers hockey, and Knicks basketball fan. Then, when he was just 8 years old, soccer was added to that list. It was Dortmund versus Gladbach on the Fox Soccer Channel, witnessing the Südtribüne, German translation, South Grandstand. That's Europe's largest standing terrace for soccer fans, holding nearly 25,000 people at Dortmund's stadium, Westfalenstadion. They call it the Yellow Wall. These were fans who loved their team, win or lose, and from that moment on, David was hooked. BVB Buffalo 716 was founded in 2023, and David became the president in the summer of 2025. They watch every single Dortmund match at Meske, one of Buffalo's soccer bars on Hurdle Avenue. To get a better understanding of the sense of community that supporters culture brings, we are pleased to be joined by David Arends himself. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk all sorts of Dortmund, but first, in order to really encapsulate what supporters culture is like and how friendships really blossom just because of soccer, we're going to talk New York City FC. Obviously, you're a huge New York City sports fan. Tell us how your love for New York City FC originated.
Yeah, so my love for NYCFC happened because there was a team in the MLS called the Metro Stars that changed their name to the New York Red Bulls. And being a Dortmund supporter first, I couldn't back that. So when New York City FC came to town, I supported a team that actually played in New York City. And even though it's not what I love about soccer being a part of CFG, um, being able to have a team in New York City and being able to support our local MLS club is something that that's really special.
And you got involved with their supporters group called the Third Rail, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I joined officially Third Rail in, ironically, the spring of 2020 when we couldn't play soccer. I went to my first away day in Toronto, March 7th, right before COVID. And that was the best, worst experience of my life. It was so cold that the beer taps froze. They could only sell beer in cans. And it was almost trauma bonding. And then COVID lockdown happened right after Dortmund played PSG in the Champions League. And so we started doing weekly Zoom calls. Every Thursday night, we would get together on Zoom, talk NYCFC and just life in general. And that's how we really became close. Once the restrictions were lifted, we went down, met at John and Diane's, uh, our basically second parents, and you know, parents of the Third Rail Bronx, and we did a barbecue together, and it was a great time.
That's great to hear. Like, I mean, man, that must have been just such a journey where you're just throughout COVID, you can't get to each other, but of course, using technology is, one way to make that happen. When it all broke up and you were able to get back together, you were able to go to New York and actually hang out with these friends and form those bonds in person.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a special group, and being able to connect virtually is another way that I keep in contact with, not just NYCFC supporters, but Dortmund supporters across the world.
And in your New York City FC fandom, you also had the opportunity in 2021 to go to MLS Cup. Now that was in Portland, Oregon, right? So did the travel and got together with people and you did the whole bit, right?
Yeah, I went down to New York City. Obviously, flights out of Buffalo are crazy, so uh,
Yeah, true,
took
true.
a flight down to New York City. Spent a day with my friends there. Flew out to Portland together. Got to watch MLS Cup and won a ring and flew back. Stayed a few more days in New York City. No parade, but town hall had a great celebration and went back home the day after the celebration.
And I love this picture here. Tell me about this one. That looks like a giant MLS Cup. I'm not sure where was this and how the heck did you get up there, man?
So this was just downtown Portland. I can't remember the name of the square, but
Okay.
I landed around, oh, geez, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that. And so before heading into the hotel room, I was like, walk around a little bit. And
Mhm.
I went to the square and saw that, and I was like, well, I gotta take a couple of photos. And so I took some, and then went back to the hotel room, and so I was staying with two friends, Dave and Christina, and when I got into the room, they were starting to get ready because 4:30 kickoff time for the Premier League, which they wanted to get up to watch. So they
Oh,
got up
sure.
and they're like, "Oh, what did you do?" And so I was like, "Oh, I took a photo with the big cup." And they're like, they got there the day earlier and they didn't know it was up, so we went down there, took more photos together, and uh, yeah, went back, watched Premier League, and then went to go see us lift a cup.
What a fantastic journey, and then you lifted the cup in the end and you got to see it with your own very eyes, not something that a lot of even like the most diehard supporters of their team get to experience is actually lifting a cup, and you had that opportunity.
Yeah, special to do it that quickly. 7 years, if my math is correct,
Hmm. Hmm.
for us to do it, and to do it with, we traveled 2,500 plus just in the supporter section, and then there were more sprinkled throughout the rest of the stadium. Really special group that traveled out there, and I call a lot of them some of my best friends.
This is my favorite video. You've got to tell me what's going on here. This is Maxi Morales, widely considered by many to be one of the best players in the MLS. Definitely, in my opinion, probably New York City FC's most favorite player. How awesome is this? And you're standing right next to him.
Yeah, no, I really lucky to get that close to all the players. Got photos with 5, 6 different players. Uh, but yeah, they had this little podium, and players went up, did speeches. It was probably the best part about winning on the road is they did a whole celebration down in the basement of the hotel that the players are staying at. They brought the cup. All the players were there, and we just club provided food and beverage, and we just had a great time together. I was just lucky to be standing near the podium that they were all gathering on.
I love it. And I think that just goes to show you too that, even at the Division 1 MLS level, these players are ingrained with their fans. These players recognize supporters groups. These players are one with the people. A lot of times you don't really see that, but to see that at like you see it, I've seen it in lower division soccer for sure, but I haven't really seen it at MLS, and that's the experience that you had.
Yeah, obviously, it's more special being the first one, getting to see your team's first championship. And I don't know, maybe that was part of the reason that they did what they
Yeah,
did. Or, if we win a second, maybe it'll be the same experience. But
yeah,
um, there's definitely a really close connection with at least the players of NYCFC and the supporters.
yeah. And now they're building. Do I have this right? They're in the middle of building a new stadium. Is it in Queens? Is that right? Right by the baseball stadium?
Right across the street, if there's a 1 p.m. baseball game and a 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. kickoff time, we'll do a little double header and enjoy the Saturday.
That's got to be awesome. I got to be honest with you, David. Honestly, I think playing in the baseball stadium, it just wasn't working for me watching those games. I don't know your personal feelings on that as a NYCFC fan, but I honestly I wasn't feeling it.
I think, yeah, obviously people are going to complain about the smaller pitch, but for
Yeah.
the people who stuck it out, stood on those bleachers week in, week out, and I can't even say that I have. I mean, I
Mhm.
have a season ticket, but I can't get down there every weekend from Buffalo. But for the
Right,
people who
right.
go in, week out, I think it brought them a lot closer because they are the diehards. They're the ones that are like, we don't care that we play in a baseball stadium. We're there to support. We're there to rep our team no matter what. And then now we're in a position that we are getting a stadium and we can be like, we were there from the beginning. We didn't just come in for the stadium.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot now. This is a direct David Arends quote, but I think it really encapsulates what we're talking about here today. And here it is. This is from David Arends. All I need to say about football fandom and what those relationships mean is that I've been to New York City 40 ish times since 2020, and I haven't paid for a hotel ever. David, is that true?
That is factual statement. I stayed my first trip down for that barbecue. I stayed with two different people. Shout out Milan and then John and Diane, of course. And then during that trip, other supporters, we became close. And one of my best friends, Mandy Collins, shout out to her. I have stayed at her place probably 90% of the times down, but we just have a great time. She lives 4 blocks from the stadium. We just walk over together to matches, go back with the crew, party it up, and just enjoy our time.
Well, that just speaks to the camaraderie that kind of develops with soccer fandom, and you found that in that group, which is great. Okay, now let's talk Dortmund. Okay, the let's talk Champions League final versus Real Madrid in 2024. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit here. Okay, tell me about your experience in Brooklyn. That must have been just out of sight.
It was the craziest thing ever. And, unfortunately, I couldn't get to Wembley, London, and be there for the final. But
Right,
I
right.
think it was great that I wasn't, because at least some of the core members, because most of the core Brooklyn group were out there, but one of the co-presidents, Clarence, stuck behind, toughed it out with me in Brooklyn, and we were able to put together something special. We had a lot of Germans out there on holiday, because
Mhm.
of course you don't expect to make Champions League finals. So that was,
Right.
that's always the week after the last match day of the year. So if they already have uh, travel plans to New York City, we got the word out. We all gathered at a park for a barbecue. Uh, I don't know the count, but 100
Mhm.
plus 200. I mean, they did 3 overflow bars on
Oh
top of
wow.
Banter Bar, because Banter Bar was completely filled up, reserved. But to walk down the middle of the street, not the sidewalk, to walk down the middle of the street, to sit down in an intersection and pop some smoke bombs was a really cool experience. I never in my wildest dreams being someone who watched Dortmund alone every
Right.
weekend. To have that was crazy.
That's fantastic. And then as we fast forward, there's Club World Cup. Now, that was Dortmund playing down in Atlanta. And now, did you have a canceled flight story involved there? What exactly happened there? Because that it sounds crazy, but you found a way to get there. I would love to hear this.
Uh, well, which canceled flight story do you want? So, of
Right.
course, group stage we played at MetLife the first week. That was easy, train down, train up. Then
Yep.
it was Cincinnati where I experienced my first hiccup. I was supposed to fly out Friday night to get there, in time because we had an early 12 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. That flight Friday night was canceled. They got me on the earliest flight out of Buffalo. I was supposed to arrive around 10 o'clock, give me a little bit of wiggle room. The flight to Detroit, because there was a layover out of Buffalo, of course, was delayed then that morning. Had a short 20-minute connection in Detroit, or I was supposed to, and that got delayed again. So I landed in Cincinnati um, with 30 minutes to get to the
Oh
game before
God.
kickoff. And so the stadium was 25 minutes away, but the Airbnb was on the other side of the city. So obviously, we have these group chats going, and one of the guys, Brian from Chicago, he's member or president, can't remember, of the Chicago group, who was like, "Hey, my Airbnb is right by the stadium. Here's the door code. Just drop your stuff. We'll get it after." And I was able
Wow.
to make it just in time. As I was walking down the concourse into the supporters section, You'll Never Walk Alone started playing, and then a bunch of guys were waiting there with beers for me.
Oh man, talk about first class experience after a nightmare airplane situation.
Well, I was in Charlotte for my brother. He had a personal thing going on, and we went down there as a family. And I was supposed to catch a flight from Charlotte to Atlanta um, the that afternoon to get down there for the match against Monterey the next day. And again, flight got canceled. So the president of the Charlotte group, Gil, who former Toronto member but moved to Charlotte for work, reached out and he said, "Hey, I've got an extra spot in my car. We'll drive you down to Atlanta tomorrow morning." And we got down there, uh, had a great time and great road trip.
It just shows you too, like, Dortmund supports Dortmund, and soccer fans are gonna support soccer fans, and you'll find a way to get there. Were prices crazy for Club World Cup? Because I know this kind of ties in with what FIFA was trying to do as a preamble, kind of like a dress rehearsal, if you will, for club or for the World Cup, 2026 this year. What was the experience like that you had from the way you feel that like FIFA set that up, stadium experience, pricing, etc. Do you think that was kind of like a good preamble for what we might see in World Cup 26?
If it is, then I'm worried about the World Cup because
Yeah.
that was, I mean, fortunately enough, yes, being a part of a fan club, being a member of Dortmund, I had access to fan club pricing. Um,
Hmm.
However, what wasn't sold was then opened up to general public. So it was the Dortmund supporters section, and particularly against Real Madrid, there was a lot of Madrid fans in what should have been a Dortmund supporters section. So,
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
hopefully any national team allocation does get sold out. But for smaller countries that, might not be able to fill their section, hopefully it's the World Cup and we all get along and, it's not
Yeah.
as deep as club football, but there needs to be, there needed to be better segregation of supporters groups and fans during the Club World Cup. So hopefully that will be fixed for the World Cup.
Yeah, I was looking into it starting last fall, even because I know that they have the lotteries and things like that. Of course, um, American Outlaws, Buffalo with Angelo, they're involved there with the national group and, hopefully getting better pricings with that group as well. Obviously, Toronto, BMO Field is only 2 hours away with an international border. That would be nice to actually go check out some of those games, considering one of the stadiums is so local. But for me, I honestly didn't even sign up with the FIFA account because I figured that even if I get drafted, for one of those lottery phases, that prices would just be out of control. So I didn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. Just
Yeah.
I told myself I'm just gonna, if there's a game I want to go to, I'll just, you know, maybe pay the secondary pricing if it doesn't get too crazy. But I also hate to do that because just again is enticing FIFA to do the same thing. So
That's right.
it might just be watch parties for me.
Yep. Yep. That's most certainly my plan. All right. So, how cool is this? Now, you're actually headed to Dortmund this year, coming up in May. Tell us about, how that all came about and the couple that you're staying with as well.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, of course you have to get out to Germany and so I went, decided, okay, end of April, early May. So we have Borussia Mönchengladbach for the away match, and I wanted to do that match because that was, I wanted that to be my first match in Germany. And then, of course, I will be at the last home match as well. It just lined up perfectly because that last home match, the atmosphere should always be amazing. I mean, it always is, but for a last home match of a season will be really special. And then, yeah, met Kurd at a Dortmund watch party. He down in Brooklyn. He was just visiting on holiday, and him and I just became friends, and we talk all the time. And when I told him I was coming to Germany, he was like, "All right, you're coming. You're coming to Berlin. That's where he lives, and you're going to stay with me, and we'll get out to the stadium together, and we'll stand at the Zood and you know party."
Yeah. All right. Let's talk some Buffalo Pro Soccer if that's okay with you. A little preamble here. So we know they were founded in 2024, and then we had news early on in 2025 that a stadium was going to be built on Elk and Lee Streets in the Valley neighborhood of Buffalo. They had some pushback with that decision over the summer from PVS Chemical Solutions, one of their neighbors, because that is sort of an industrial section of the city. There was some pushback, and Buffalo Pro Soccer decided to terminate that lease and then go back to the drawing board. Originally, they were looking at a 2026 start. Before World Cup, they were actually going to start this March for the USL Championship season. With the decision to go back to the drawing board with a location, they pushed that start date to March of 2027. So that's kind of where we stand right now. But I'd love to talk to you about Buffalo sports fans in general, David, because I've always seen Buffalo Pro Soccer as being successful if we can adopt a similar methodology as like the Buffalo Bisons or the Buffalo Bandits. We're not talking about 60,000 people. We're talking about maybe 7,500, 10,000 strong, small group of diehard fans, that of the majority of which would probably be season ticket holders, packing the stadium. So I've always had it in my head that if they can adopt the same mentality as like a Buffalo Bandits, I see Buffalo Pro Soccer being very successful. Would you kind of say the same thing?
Yeah, we have to just the way I think of it is there are going to be a lot of, you know, people who are soccer fans of some Premier League team or, Dortmund or whatever club.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
we can't try to be that. We
Hmm.
need to be Buffalo.
Yep.
Um, we need to just play into the culture of Buffalo, which is acceptance and
Hmm.
neighbors and moving from Syracuse to Buffalo is weird because you'll go grocery shopping and everyone will be like, hey, how are you? And we just need to let Buffalo be Buffalo. This is not Buffalo Manchester United. This is not Buffalo
Hmm.
Arsenal. This is Buffalo Pro Soccer. And we need to, you know we're going to have Bandit fans and Bills fans and Bison's fans, and we need to not push them out because, oh no, this is football. We need to, this is the culture of football. And no, let's have the culture of
Exactly.
Buffalo and be accepting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And good ownership, I think, is also part of the equation. You can say a lot about, some of the owners of Buffalo sports past, or present even, both pros and cons. But I mean, good ownership is going to be key. Right now, I believe the U.S. soccer federations, uh, their standards are currently that we need a primary owner of worth, $20 million plus, unless they change those, guidelines. But for the Division 2 level, which is where USL Championship currently resides, their clubs need owners with some deep pockets, and it's not that that list is zero in Western New York, but I understand too that there's not hundreds of people that fit that description. So I think Peter Marlette Jr. has some work to do on that, and I think he's headed in the right direction. But where would you say that good ownership and the decision making from ownership comes with having a successful soccer team here in Buffalo?
I mean, transparency is number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, supporters can't know everything, but you have to communicate. And I feel like that's something that has not been happening,
Mm-hmm.
is communication on all fronts, and uh, it's frustrating. We need to, understand what's going on, why things are going the way that they're going.
Yeah.
And so hopefully the owner has that, and then just remember that supporters culture is different in this sport. um, we are, I, supporters groups are as far away as possible from ownership. Like all that matters is communicate to us, and we're going to bring the noise, and just, don't price the fans out. Keep bringing
Mm-hmm.
in talent, keep developing. I expect a good youth academy. Buffalo has a lot of talent, and we need to use that and develop that. And if we're not going to do that, if they're just going to, we have a club, we're just going to make money off the fans, then this is going to collapse really quickly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it's a give and take situation. They want fans, we want to be part of the soccer community with them, but it's going to be a two-way street. In order for fans to show up, we have to have that open line of communication, and we need to another thing is there's kind of a lot of hurdles too, because when you think about it, we still need a primary owner, we still need a stadium, and it will be a soccer specific stadium somewhere in the city limits of Buffalo. So we need that. And then those are like two gigantic hurdles that I think for a lot of fans, maybe not you and I, but for a lot of fans or sports fans in Buffalo in general, they're going to want to see that first. Once they have a better, because we all know in American soccer, you know, nothing is set in stone until soccer's actually played, because there's so many things that can go awry. So I think as long as they're upfront with us about the steps that they're taking to reach those goals before March 2027, I mean, fans want to see results, and part of the results is making sure that we get a stadium and we get an owner. So, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So, and here's another subject too. So, like you, people can be fans of multiple clubs. There's this question out there about, okay, so the majority of soccer fans who are watching on TV soccer in America are fans of European soccer. You know, it's not like 40 years ago where you're never gonna see Serie A or Bundesliga on television. Good luck. Now, every 14-year-old with a cell phone is what's he pulling up clips of on YouTube? It might be NPSL and USL and to a greater extent MLS, but honestly, I think the majority of it is English Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A. Like that's what these kids are watching, and they can do it, with that phone in their hand. So obviously European soccer, to us, we feel like that is what we should strive for. But it's not a deterrent. If we get soccer here, you're gonna have those fans also be fans of Buffalo Pro Soccer too. It's not mutually exclusive, and I think you're a fantastic example of that. Not only are you a Dortmund fan, but you're a big New York City FC fan. Well, I think that, and here, let's take a look at this. So this came out, this was Nielsen's ratings. Top markets for 2024-2025 Premier League season. Top media markets in the nation. Buffalo, number one. We are watching Premier League soccer more than anyone else in the country. And to me, I believe that that is a huge advantage for us because we get to tap into those fans. It's not like they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm a Man City fan. Like, why do I care about Buffalo Pro Soccer? No, this is just another reason to get involved in your own local community. And you were an example of that as well. So that's my take. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's always tough. People have been watching these teams for decades, and have connected and gone to matches, and so I mean you'd love for people to pass this down, right? So you start going, and then some of us have kids, and then they just grow up with Buffalo Pro Soccer, going to matches, going to their local, and then hopefully that turns into, okay, for them Buffalo's number one, and then Dortmund or Man City or whoever is their second. So as long as we get people who at least get invested and come and bring family and friends, Buffalo Pro Soccer can be your number one love. It might not be for you or for me or for anyone who's had a Premier League club for 30 years, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll use NYCFC as an example, right? So I know a ton of people who came, there's a huge Latin American community, and they have their clubs, whether it be Barcelona SC, MLEC, Corinthians, Boca Juniors, River Plate. Um, and now they are, and their parents tell them all these stories of how, okay, like we went to all these matches, and then this is what we did with our friends, and then we moved to New York City for whatever reason, and now they're getting to live their parents' stories. And so
Yeah.
now these kids that we bring, uh, now they're living the stories of their parents who, moved from wherever to come to Buffalo and have all these great soccer stories.
What's your message to Western New Yorkers that might be on the fence about becoming a soccer fan?
During the summer, there's nothing else going on. USL has not changed their schedule. They are staying spring to fall. So
That's right.
unless you're a season ticket holder to the Buffalo Bisons, there's no reason for you not to show up. If you love sports, you will love soccer. You will love football.
I love it. I love it. Well, David, I'm telling you, I'm gonna buy you a beer next time I'm at Mesque. I'll see you there. I appreciate you jumping on today and giving us your perspective about supporter culture and the friendships that you built through soccer.
Of course, thank you for having me.